Okay, technical difficulties because, of course, the IG likes to act up, but we are back again. It is all right, y'all. Maria will be here momentarily. Hey, Maria, we had a little technical difficulty, but we are back again. She should be up here. Hello.
Hey!
Hi, you know IG likes to act a fool, but we here.
But you know, we gonna keep it pushing because ain't nobody got time today. Ain't nobody got time.
I like the necklace, so I shouted. Okay.
Thank you. I'm giving you Amazon bling. This is Amazon bling, courtesy of Amazon.
Really cute.
Thank you.
Okay, we just waiting for people to come in. Hello.
Hello. I don't even want to put my phone down because I feel like Instagram likes to act ghetto. So I just want to can you hear me fine? Because I have you in my ear. Can you hear me fine?
No, I can hear you really well.
Okay, good. Excited. We're going to be talking about starting a business. You know what? This is the first time we've had like an entrepreneurship live, which I'm really, hey, Lucinda Boo! We're going to be talking about this, and I'm excited because I haven't really, so let's jump right in. People will let's jump right in because Instagram will get funky and kick us off after a certain time.
No.
So
you ready to start?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back again for another Embrace Our Legacy live show with myself and, of course, our founder and CEO, Maria Melendez. Woo woo. Tonight, we are going to be talking about how to start a business and just a little bit about what entrepreneurship is really like. So, like always, these live shows are donation opportunities. So if you like what we do and you want to support us, then you can click the link in our bio to donate or text Embrace to 844-701-5181. And those instructions are pinned down below if you forget. And do you have anything for the audience?
No, just if people don't know us, because we've been doing this, I guess sometimes you got to remind the people that we are indeed a 501c3 nonprofit personal development organization dedicated to equipping women and girls with the tools needed to overcome internal and external challenges in fulfilling a purpose-driven legacy. And we do that through amazing programs, workshops, and coaching dedicated to millennial women and Gen Z girls. So just in case you didn't know what we do, now you know.
We are making magic happen, y'all.
Every day.
Okay, so let's get started. The first question that I have for you is probably the juiciest question. I'm sure a lot of people probably ask you this. What inspired you to start your own business?
It's so funny how you say a lot of people ask me this. I get asked this. I'm either writing this question or answering this question 3 times a week, whether it's in a proposal, whether it's in a pitch. And I was at the doctor's office, like doing my annual physical, and she asked me this, and I rolled my eyes, and I was just like, I know she felt bad, but I was just like, I'm tired of answering this question, sometimes I just want an off moment because people always ask, well, what made you? And I'm like, oh God. But essentially, like, I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, and I knew around 16, 17, I spoke it out loud. I grew up inspired. I'm 80s born, 90s raised, so I grew up highly inspired by like hip hop entrepreneur moguls. So in the 90s, you had the rise of that, the Puffies, the Jay-Z's, the Russell Simmons, and especially resonating very much well with Puffy and Jay, because Jay was from Brooklyn and Puff being from Harlem. Like it was amazing for me to see people who look like me rise to such levels of success. And it wasn't necessarily just through the music aspect. It was more or less having these brands, whether it was alcohol brands, whether it was shoe brands, fashion lines. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much in entrepreneurship. And I wanted that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a mogul, which I am in the middle, and I'm going to, speak that into the atmosphere, that I'm building that. But I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur because I like the flexibility, but I like having my hands in a lot of things. I don't have the personality to go into a 9 to 5. Like I realized that once I did start my corporate career in the music business. So that's what made me start. And then when I got into the music industry, just to give people context, I worked at a major record label as an intern, and then was promoted and did work as a coordinator and executive assistant, and really had this high profile job. And it was there that I kind of started Embrace Her Legacy out of my own personal need, right? So I experienced the lack of woman empowerment in the music business for a myriad of reasons, and it was challenging for me because I was what, 21, 20, 22 coming into the game. And I was surrounded by other women who looked like me, but the majority of those women, unfortunately, would see each other as competition as opposed to a collective, right? So it wasn't it was more of an it was a jarring experience for me that, damn, so many beautiful black women, and there's so much cattiness behind the doors. And it was very like, I don't, it's very like, the mentality at the time was, I paid my dues, you have to pay yours as well, which I understand, right? But I also understand you can couple that with building up leaders and building up the next generation. And that really wasn't happening at the time at the music business. Not to say all the women who I worked with or for were like that. I worked with some amazing women who I love to this day. They know who they are. And if I say their names, they'll probably go crazy, but I'm going to say anyway: Miss Kathy Moore, people who have taken me under their wings. Where would I be without people like that? But that's how Embrace Her Legacy started. And I just started it as an answer to my problem, because I would get other women, like-minded women together. And I would do events. I really started getting involved a lot into brand partnerships at the time. So I was talking a lot to like the Essences and all these brands that were kind of like geared towards women and women of color. I was doing a lot of side gigs and events around that. So that's kind of how that woman empowerment space came. And I really created Embrace Her Legacy because I wanted to give other young women at the time what I needed. And I would just get these events together, and it wasn't, there was the fact of work where young girls was there at the time. It was just us getting together, sharing our resources and helping each other grow professionally and personally. It kind of like started as that network, and one thing led to another. I quit the job, and then and then because I worked in the music business, I started doing a lot of community work. Like, a lot of people from my music industry would be like, hey, people would just start asking me to come speak at their schools, at their community organizations. And it was a lot of work with young women. And then one of my mentors at the time was like, Maria, pay attention. This might be your second career. Like, I know you want Embrace Her Legacy to focus on women. I wasn't looking to work with the next generation. I was looking to work with women like 25 until maybe like 45. And she said something so pertinent. She said, Maria, you are still becoming a woman yourself. I was like 27 at the time. And that was the best piece of advice she could have given me, because I didn't have the wisdom that I have now to pour into women. I hadn't gone through my challenges, which we'll talk about in a second. But that's pretty much what made me start the business. I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I saw the need, and I fulfilled it. That's pretty much it. I knew what problem I was solving, per se.
I like that answer. I really do like that, especially now you have stepped into your role. Like, you are really the inspirational homegirl. You are a mentor.
Oh,
So I
thank
like that.
you. Thank you. That's the story behind Embrace a Legacy.
So my next question is, what are some challenges that you have faced and the lessons you learned from them as an entrepreneur?
Oh God. I will be so honest, and I made a promise to God. I said, as I start taking platforms, I want to be as transparent and honest as possible what the entrepreneurship journey really takes, because people out here posting like they don't have their ramen noodle days, they don't take L's, all of us do. We just don't post that. But first and foremost, I think the greatest challenge for me is I didn't have a business plan. I had the inspiration. I had the idea. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go and do something great for women. Had no solid business plan. I had no clue what I was doing at the beginning. At the beginning, I wasn't even making any money. I'll be honest. I didn't have an idea. All I knew was I knew I had a call on my life, right? So becoming an entrepreneur for me, I knew God was calling me out, right? And I'll tell you guys the story real quick. It was 10 years ago, almost to the date. It was 2012. It was around January 2012, February. And I remember just being so fed up with my job in the music industry. And people will not understand that unless you worked in the record business. Although I love what the music industry has taught me, and I won't ever go back into the music business in that capacity, but I'd always put on like a concert for Embrace Her Legacy, as a fundraiser. So I would do music in my way now, right? Because music will always be my first love. But at the time, I was in a bad space. I was in a very bad space mentally. It was not looking good, and I said, God, I can't continue my life like this. Like at the time I was 26, turning 27 years old. I said, I cannot continue my life. I remember getting on a train one day and New York was just looking so dark. It was like a dark winter day. But one night I was crying fetal position. And I'm not going to get to specifics, but I was on my bed and I knew God was like, oh, that thing called Embrace Her Legacy, that's what you're supposed to do. And I was like, you want me to quit my job? Like, it wasn't necessarily quitting my job. It wasn't like quit your job and find another job. It was like quit your job and trust me through this thing called Embrace Her Legacy. And I was like, I gotta walk away from all of that. So I knew I had that promise of God that this was what I was supposed to do. That was all I had. And a website. I had a website, that a couple of events under my belt. I didn't really know what I was doing. So that was the biggest challenge at first, was kind of like finding out like getting to where I am now, like getting to know what Embrace Her Legacy would actually offer and do. Now I can spit that out. This is what we do. This is how we do it. Blah 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 blah. This wasn't 10 years ago. So I didn't have a plan. I didn't know. It took time for it to look and get to where it was. And then my market. So then when I finally, let's fast forward a couple of years later, when I finally got to like the Embrace Her Legacy Academy, our flagship program, which our 10th cohort is accepting applications for young women ages 14 to 19. Make sure you head to embraceherlegacy.com to find out the details. My second cohort, because my first cohort, people don't know, was actually with a partnership with OpNet, which is another youth development organization that ISIS is a proud fellow of. And so when I saw that it worked with OpNet, I said, okay, I'm going to do this program on my own. But my marketing plan was trash. And I'm telling people this, you can have the best business, product, service, book, but if your marketing plan is trash, that means nobody is going to know about it. So that was another challenge. I had to learn how to, and here I am, a whole college graduate at the time with a bachelor's degree in marketing, but I didn't know. So that was another challenge. And then, I figured that out and it worked. Another challenge, money went. Like I saved, when I left Atlantic, I was sitting on 2 years of living expenses. Like I could live my life in 2 years. Oh, those 2 years passed, and then money started getting funny. I started living on credit cards. There was times I didn't have money to eat. Like it was just bad. For the first time in my life, I knew what broke felt like. Like I never knew what that was, right? So that was another challenge, right? And in that was all happening to build my character. Now I look back and see why that was happening, right? I had to learn like my worth wasn't in the numbers or how accomplished I was. Like I had to go through a season of being broke. And I think every entrepreneur is going to have to go through that season. Like I don't want to say that because I don't want to be negative about it, but it's just like you're gonna have to develop your character and as being an entrepreneur. And there is something special that happens and unique that happens when you no longer have the comfort of a check to rely on every 2 weeks. That's the challenge of being an entrepreneur. My friends they may not have money, but they know by next Wednesday they're going to get a check. I don't get that luxury, So there's something unique that develops in your character, a certain chutzpah that happens, but I had to learn those lessons. Like, I wasn't my money, I wasn't I lost everything. Like, I went from being in a relationship, having the world at my disposal, corporate cards, all of that, and I lost all of that. And it was hard. That was a lot of lessons, but in those seasons, I learned the lessons that I teach now. Like, I could never teach what I teach and speak and preach and coach because I walked through it. I'm like, oh, let me tell you what it was. And I had to go through that. Like, God was preparing me for my journey. So, and then another thing, spending a lot of money on things that don't matter. A lot of people do that, which we'll get into in a second. But to be honest, I said, the biggest lesson I learned is just put one foot in front of another. That's it. It's not going to all be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have ramen noodle days. People not going to believe everything. Then people are not going to believe in you. And a lot of times those people will be the people that share your last name or are closest to you, family and friends. And that's okay. It's not for them to learn. God didn't give them the vision. Like, I used to be very frustrated with that at the beginning. Like, why doesn't people? Now I don't give a hoot and holler who shows up and who doesn't. I know what I'm doing and I know who I'm doing it for. And I believe, I know, I have confidence in myself. So there are going to be people who are not going to be believing you, and that's okay. When it's time for them to believe in you, they'll believe in you. I know that was a lot.
That was a lot.
I'm sorry. It's like a lot of challenges on the
It is.
entrepreneurship, and people don't talk about it, Isis. Like, people out here fronting on the gram, like entrepreneurship life is easy. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, baby, you sure? You ready for this? Okay, because this is not for the faint of heart, okay? So it's worth it, but it's not easy. Like anything, right?
Mm-hmm. So my next question is, how do you structure your day-to-day duties?
As an entrepreneur, let me tell you one thing. If you're not careful, you could easily burn out as an entrepreneur. Especially, it depends on what your business is, right? So my hours is more it's service based, right? And I have launched physical products, and I know you know that behind the Embrace Her Legacy seeds, where we are working to launch more physical items that merch that people can buy. And a lot of times when you're doing those type of businesses and you're a small team, or you're a show of one woman, which I used to be, thank God I'm not there anymore, you can really tap yourself out. So, like, because there is no 9 to 5 as an entrepreneur. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If something happens in the middle of the night, Embrace Her Legacy related, who's it coming? Who's getting the call? Me, or who? So, you got to be careful with structure. So for me, my day-to-day, I have a morning routine. I put myself first, unapologetic. I wasn't this unapologetic before about putting myself first, because I used to listen to my inner saboteur tell me, oh, you don't want it hard enough, you're not working hard enough. Let me tell you now, I'm like, I would talk back to my inner saboteur, but I'm gonna take this nap. That's what I'm gonna do, because I don't feel good. I need to reset. So my day-to-day activities, my morning routine, I put me first. I pray, I work out, drink coffee, do what I need to do for the first couple of hours of the day. For the first 2 hours of the day is mine. Then I start working at around 9 a.m. and then I don't do anything work related until after 6 p.m. After 6 p.m. if I don't need to, unless something special. I work from about 9:30 to my latest like 5:30. Sometimes I'm not in front of my computer till 10:30. I watch Joel. Let me tell you, I watch Joel Osteen every morning. He's one of my favorite morning preachers to listen to. He gets me right with my motivation. There's a lot of preachers that I listen to, him, Bishop G.B. Jakes, in the morning. And sometimes I'm like, well, Joel is giving a good message, and I want to wait till Joel is over. He ends at 10:30. I take breaks as needed. I remind myself, like, if I were in an office, I would take an hour lunch break. So why not do that? So I do that. And then in the morning, not in the morning, but the day before, we use an app called Asana. So I look at my tasks, I look at my calendar, and that tells me what I need to get done for the day. And there's always seasons, where I'm working a little later, especially if we have a lot of West Coast situations going on because of the time difference. I'll keep my calendar open until like the latest 7 o'clock. But yeah, you got to put yourself first as an entrepreneur, you know. And if there's anyone who's an entrepreneur on the live, and they let me know how y'all structure your day-to-day activities in the comments.
That's very funny that you say that. Like that you would take an hour break or you would do things a certain way. Like if I want to watch this episode, I'm gonna watch because a lot of people think that entrepreneurs are just on the go all the time. Just their entire lives are just about work, 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 when in reality, you guys are human and you guys do normal things. So that's very, very interesting. And I'm glad that you said that because it brings like light and humanness to being an entrepreneur for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Today, social entrepreneurship. Hey, social entrepreneurships, entrepreneurs. Ow. Yeah, absolutely. Today, I took a break and watched the latest episode of Power Force with Tommy because I said I didn't watch it yesterday, and I was unapologetic. That was my lunch break today. I said I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna watch this show at 2 through whatever time in the afternoon it was. And you got to be unapologetic about taking care of yourself because then you go into burnout, and that's very real amongst entrepreneurs. And I learned that if you go down as an entrepreneurship, your whole ship goes down, and oftentimes, especially at the beginning stages, you don't have that team to like of 10, 20, 30 people that you have a second in command. That's another thing that I tell entrepreneurs. Have a second in command so that you can step away, you can do what you need to do. So it's not all falling on you all the time.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you were talking about burnout. So my next question would be, how do you stay motivated and organized as an entrepreneur?
How do I stay motivated and organized? I have apps up the wazoo. My first and favorite app is Asana. I love Asana. Asana is a project management app. We use it collectively as a team where it tells it I have my tasks and I have my tasks for the week. You understand? Like, oh, life coach, advocate, and public speaking. All right. Oh, come on coaches and speakers and social entrepreneurs. Let's get it rocking. And if you have any questions that we are not covering, definitely drop them in the comments below about entrepreneurship. But yeah, so I have apps. I have Asana is our project management app that we use just for tasks, and I assign my team tasks. They mark off tasks when they're done. Google Drive is amazing. Organized. I love Google Drive, Google Sheets. We have folders. We have team folders for everything. Like we have a document for everything. Everything that we do as an Embrace Your Legacy team, it is highly organized. Whether it's a Google Sheet, whether it's a Google Drive, whether we're outreaching, even as something as like our academy, right? So when a student applies to the program, her information is uploaded to the spreadsheet. We know who reached out to her, when they reached out, her application status, everything. So Google Sheets to keep track of things like that. We also we believe in working smarter, not harder. And social media is really a beast in itself as an entrepreneur. And oftentimes I tell people, I didn't sign up to be an influencer. I signed up to be an entrepreneur. And there are people who can master both. But sometimes I feel like as an entrepreneur, there's this overwhelming pressure to create content and to do this, which is fine. But I have my girls doing that now. Like, so if you look at our social media pages, they're the ones not only managing social media, their faces are on our brand. So I have our ambassadors so that, people can see what the program is about. But what we do is we schedule out social media. We use an app called Later. We also use Hootsuite to schedule our posts. Nobody has time to be posting 5 and 6 times a day. If you take an hour out of your day the day before and say, all right, what do I need to post this week? Schedule out your posts. So that helps us keep us organized. Unfortunately, you can't schedule certain things like stories in a row. You can't schedule stories, but you can't schedule like reels and certain things. So yeah, like scheduling things, working smarter, not harder. Google Calendar I live by my calendar is everything. And then notes on my iPhone. Like a lot of time I get ideas on the go. So like I write them down because the whole I'm gonna remember that later. No, you're not. So if you get a good idea, write it down on your phone. Just ways to keep myself organized as an entrepreneur. Is there anything I miss, Isis, that we use to keep ourselves organized?
No. Scheduling, Asana, no. And just being on top of each other. Like if we see that we missed something, we'll be quick to be like, oh, did you miss this? Or is
Yeah.
everything just communication for sure is definitely a big part of our organization.
True. And then we have a group chat. So we will drop things in the group chat like, hey girl, yeah. So we communicate with each other as a group, with a WhatsApp group chat. Another thing that we do is we have a standing weekly meeting, two meetings that we have a week. We have a standard Monday weekly team meeting. Every Monday at 11 a.m., this team is together. We'll talk about updates of the week. And in that meeting is where I place everyone's tasks in Asana. So everybody knows what they got to do for the week. And then Tuesdays we have a social media meeting where we decide what we're going to post on our social media for the week for the next week coming. So then the girls and the team, they get their tasks and everybody knows what they got to do. So it kind of keeps us all organized as a team. It's like we know Tuesdays we have social, Monday is like regular team meeting, just to keep ourselves organized as a team. Another thing you asked, Isis, is motivation. You know how I feel about motivation. It's at some point it's discipline. Like it's like the same way I feel like with motivation is great to be motivated, but I'm not always motivated. So I discipline myself. I don't let my feelings decide. I do listen to my body when it's time to make a break, but I stay motivated listening to good music. And also the end goal motivates me. Whatever we're working on, like if it's the podcast season, if it's the program, if it's this, like that motivates me to see the end goal was done. And the days I don't feel motivated, you got to discipline yourself. You got to do what you got to do. You don't feel like going to work, but you get up and do that. So it's just like the same way you got to treat your business. You got to discipline yourself.
No, for sure. For sure. I
Hmm.
agree.
How do
So
you
my
stay motivated? I
how
said.
do
Hmm.
I how do I stay motivated? By giving myself like a treat or something to look forward to. So if I know I have to get 3 tasks done in a day, I'll be like, oh, like when I'm done, I'll have a donut or like I'll have
Hmm.
coffee. I'll watch an episode of one of my favorite shows. Like giving myself some sort of reward at the end always helps. Or like I for school, for example, if I have an assignment and I know I can't be home to do it, I'll go to my school to get it done. Like being in a good atmosphere, that keeps me motivated
Mm.
as that's
Oh,
pretty much yeah, some sort of treat,
yes. Treat.
something
Treat yourself.
yeah, a treat. And just being in a good space where I can work efficiently for sure. That keeps me motivated and disciplined.
Good.
Yes. So my next question is, what precautions do you take to balance out your personal life and your business? And then when do you find time for self-care? Because you can watch your episodes throughout the day, but like when do you really have Maria time?
I am currently working through this with my therapist. I will be honest, like it's not easy, and I'm maybe being intentional about it. Like I said, I have boundaries over my work time and texting after hours and weekends. I don't do anything to embrace her legacy if we're late on a weekend at all, unless something comes up. Like yesterday, something came up, so I text y'all on a Sunday. But don't you dare email me, or you expect me to respond to your email or text about something embrace her legacy on a weekend. I don't care what it is. I'm not responding, and I don't feel bad. A lot of times we feel guilty, so I don't feel guilty anymore. I'm like, I'm not listening to that. I will talk to her later. Like I'm not answering that phone call. And even as a mentor, sometimes I have students who want to reach out. I'm like, if you want to speak to me, these are my hours I am available. I made that mistake at the beginning that I would make myself too available. And that's not good. You have to have some boundaries up. And I have now been intentional about making fun goals. at the top of the year, we all make goals. I want to make this amount of money. I want to lose this amount of weight. I want to do this. I want to get my credit score to this. I put fun goals on a list. Like, I'm like, all right, what are going to be my fun goals? So I have fun goals around dinners and vacations and spying. I'm more unapologetic about a vacation. I do things throughout the day to make me happy if I can, kind of like you with treats and stuff, taking breaks. But I think like I'm making space for fun. Like, and I'm being intentional about having fun. Yesterday I was with hanging out with my family and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so important. Like, like I am, it means so much more whatever I'm doing in my personal life now because you need it. So, and then I just want to remind myself with self-care, it's okay to rest, right? It's okay to rest. Something that I used to do last year that I want to start bringing back out is my Wednesday night dates. Because by the time Wednesday come, I don't know about y'all, but by the time the middle of the week come, I'm like, oh God, I'm tired. So
No.
one thing I would do is I always used to do Wednesday night dates with myself. Sometimes I may not be alone. But something on a Wednesday night, whether if it was I was ordering myself sushi, drinking a glass of wine, blah blah blah. So I know Wednesdays like date night. So you see how married couples have date night. I definitely fell off. But this year I'm gonna bring back my Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna bring it back this Wednesday. Wednesday night date night with myself.
I'm trying to think. What do I do as self-care? Because student, intern. Hmm. I say for me, I've been dabbling into reading a lot more. I feel like
Mm,
social media has consumed me and I have
mm,
to read a good book. So that's what I'm trying to get into now, just finding some good reads, taking time to
mm.
do lighting a candle and just sitting and reading in silence. I've
Yeah,
forgotten that that is, how nice that feels. So
it is.
that would be one of my fun goals, definitely.
Yeah. It is. I'm telling people, and I wonder if entrepreneurship and life is just a little bit more challenging for us now because of social media, because you feel this constant pressure to post. Like I will be very honest, if you look on my personal page, the live, the snapshot for the post for this came up like 2 hours ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to post that on my page that I was going live, right? So it's like not only do you have to run and maintain a business, but now you got to market on, promote it on it. It's on a relatively new channel. So if we're talking about entrepreneurs from 10, 15 years ago, you marketed your business, whether it's radio, television, email, whatever, and now you have this whole beast of social media. And it's not just social media, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, it's Facebook, it's YouTube. So another thing I tell entrepreneurs about social media and balance and self-care is like you'll find the two platforms that work for your business. We're not popping on Twitter. And I know that. And that's okay. There's some people who are really popping on. So we are popping on Instagram and TikTok. And you know why? Because that's where our target audience lives. So that's why I'm intentional about Instagram and TikTok. That's where your big, like, think about who your audience is. Think about what works for them. Maybe your audience skews a little older. If your audience skews a little older, then you need to be on Facebook posting, because Facebook, we're posting, right? But our audience doesn't live there. Like our audience they don't check for Facebook, right? We have our stuff on YouTube, but we're not really. That's not our jam. But our TikTok page is popping. Our Instagram is looking nice because that's where our audience lives. So I tell people, don't get overwhelmed with trying to master all these social media channels as an entrepreneur. Find the channel that works for you and work it and work it and work
I really, really like your advice.
it.
So, my question to dabble into that, what advice would you give to someone that wants to start a business?
Know the problem you solve, first and foremost. Every business is solving a problem, right? So look about Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was like, I just want to get some college. I just want to start networking, connect college kids, right? Started at Harvard, and then I was part of the Facebook generation and needed a .edu and blah, 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 blah. And it was all of us just connecting, our college profiles, right? I was connected with people I went to like high school, junior high school with, whatever. Know the problem you solve. Excuse me, let me back up. Know the problem you solve. Know how you solve it better than everybody else, and be able to articulate that in a couple of sentences. I'm going to say it again. And ISIS, we're going to get this part and we're going to repost this part on our page. The number one advice I would give anyone who wants to start a business is know the problem you solve, know how you solve it better than everybody else, and be able to articulate that in a couple of sentences. Boom. Once you get that, know your consumer. Okay? Make an audience profile of your target audiences and have a solid foundation. Embrace Her Legacy has 3 audience profiles. I was talking about Test Isis and see if she remembers everybody's name. And we know who our audience profiles are 3 different young women: Isra, Whitley, and Belle, right?
Yeah.
Those are 3 audience profiles. We know who, and what we mean by audience profile is we have a demographic, psychographic breakdown of who it is that we're talking to and what are their pain points, what do they need, why are they going to care about whatever Embrace Her Legacy is offering them. So that's why I say it's like before you start a business, know the problem you solve well, know your consumer, know your target ideal customer. A lot of times I see business owners making this mistake. You chasing the money. Stop chasing the money. Think about who would be your ideal customer and craft your marketing brand and craft your business to that customer, not the customer that's going to spend the money. Because sometimes we're like, okay, who's going to buy this from me? No, it's like, who needs this, right? And why should they care about it? And talk directly to that person. Again, if you don't have a strong marketing plan, your business is going to suck. Okay, so you are going to tank. So that's another thing I say. People don't talk about knowing your consumer. And sometimes we get so jazzy with marketing. I'm like, just figure out who you're targeting. And one thing for some people, I know someone said they were like a life coach and public speaking and social entrepreneurs. This is something that's key in a business, especially if your business is like service related. Sometimes your consumer is not your client. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes your consumer is not your client. And what do I mean by that? My consumer for Embrace, our consumer may be a high school girl who is 16 years old. The client is the school, let's say high school of, I don't know, XYZ, is the client because they're paying for Embrace Her Legacy to come to the school so that the students can consume Embrace Her Legacy. You have to know the difference between your consumer and your client sometimes. And sometimes the way you market to your client is different the way you market to your consumer. When I'm marketing to the schools, it's a different approach as opposed to when I'm on social media talking directly to my consumer, right? Another piece of advice I would say is get your business registered with the Department of State or whatever state you in as an LLC. Perfect example of what the benefits are for that. Not last year, 2020, when the government was giving out money through PPP loans and business release for COVID, a lot of people missed out because their businesses weren't registered as LLCs. Their businesses didn't have business bank accounts, right? So they missed it out. The government is like, what? You don't have a business to the government, right? And there are tax purposes and incentives when your business is registered as LLC. You get tax credits. That money that you're spending to, I don't know, for paid advertising on Instagram, that's a tax write-off on a business. Let's say you go to a conference, that's a tax write-off. So you need to have your paperwork ready. Of course, buy your domain name and stop spending money on things that don't matter. God, entrepreneurs, You don't need a trademark yet. Trust and believe, them couple of $1,000, you're going to be pissed off you spent that money. Don't spend money a lot of things on things that don't matter. Wait until your business starts making money to spend money on type of those things. You don't need a publicist yet. You don't need to pay somebody on consulting yet. You don't need that expensive website just yet. Just start and then put one foot in front of the other. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, oh God, I want a trademark and somebody's going to steal. Girl, ain't nobody going to steal it. Just develop the LLC. And then there's stipulations around that and like different industries and copyrights. Of course, if you have something like, if you're creating something that needs to be patented, that's different. I understand those are different. Like if it's a new invention, of course you want to spend the money on patenting that. But girl, don't spend money that you don't have just yet. Wait and see if business starts making money. I know
Okay.
that was a lot.
No, it's a lot, but I know that people out there will appreciate it for sure.
Yeah.
Soak it all in.
Yeah, soak it all in. Watch the replay. I'm like, y'all out here doing these business things and you don't have a marketing plan. You don't know who you're talking to. You chasing the dollar and you're not worried about building the vision and trusting and marketing to the person so that the right people can tap into your business. Like,
Right.
not just, okay, I'm gonna build this business and make money. A lot of times businesses like that don't stay around long.
Right. So, this next question, I'm really excited to hear your answer. So, what has been the rewarding or memorable part of having your business?
Oh gosh, March 27th, 2015. I remember that day so clearly. That was the first time I saw a significant. Well, at the time, I thought this would be a significant amount of money of our business name on a check, and it was at Hofstra University. For those of you who don't know, I am a proud graduate of Hofstra University. So I went back to my alma mater and gave a workshop, and I saw my business name. I was so happy. I was just like, wow, somebody's willing to pay me this much. And I've actually, somebody else like, yeah, somebody's willing to pay me this much. And I've actually gone back to Hofstra several times to do some work there. So that was nice. It was like, oh, that's nice. Seeing the growth, like I'm just grateful. I'm not where I was a year ago, 2 years ago. The impact on the girls, I received such a heartfelt email yesterday from one of our program grads and how our program, helped her, pursue some lifelong goals. And that made me cry. I literally dropped down to my knees yesterday when I saw that email. I was like, God, thank you. Thank you for using me to change the lives of these girls all over this world. Like, I'm just a regular schmegular girl from Brooklyn. And so to have that impact on girls all over this country, all over this world, that's amazing. And I love seeing the growth as a team. Today when we had our team meeting, and I laughed because I said, "Oh, look at everybody's nails," and it may seem minute to you, but I remember one of my mentors telling me, Maria, if you want to get it, rightfully so, she was like, if you want to be taken serious in this industry, you got to take off your big earrings, take off your red lipstick, and take off your long nails. And everybody knows me, that's my staple. I may have a big earring, a red lip, and nails. And I didn't feel defeated, but I knew what she was saying. Like, she was just like, in order for people to take you seriously in this nonprofit space with like these philanthropists and stuff, like you're gonna have to change how you present yourself. And while I understand that, and I guess I know I have to play the game sometimes to win, I promised myself that I never want to embrace her legacy to be that. I want young women, I want my team to come in with your door knockers, come in with your long nails. Oh, I'm like, oh, girl, we got your nails. I want to embrace her legacy as a organization, as a place of employment. It's a place where people are built, that this is the place you can be your unapologetic self, right? Like, that made me so happy when I saw everyone on the team meeting today just rocking their nails. And I said, wow, these girls don't even know how much of a blessing that is, because not every environment and not every job and not every organization, no matter what they profess about diversity and how they care about inclusion and all this other stuff, you can't do that as a Black woman in certain spaces. So to be able to have my team of young, fabulous Black women on these calls and rocking your nails. And I love sometimes when I see our hair, like, I remember one of our former interns, she would wear her hair out all big and beautiful. I'm like, yes. So that's the most rewarding part of me is being able to develop a team, uh, develop young leaders and letting young women of color literally develop into these powerful, amazing powerhouses by being themselves. So that when they can go into other rooms and like, yeah, I'm embracing my legacy. I'm like, yeah. So that makes me happy.
You're making me smile because I feel like when I first started being an intern here to now, like how my confidence has grown, and it's so true. Like feeling confident and comfortable to like have the long nail and to like be yourself because that is what Embrace Your Legacy is, being yourself. So I love that. I really, really do.
Thank you, Isis.
So my next question is, you kind of answered half of the question a little bit, but what's your least and most favorite things about being a business owner?
Least favorite, sometimes those days where you're like, okay, what's my next month going? Thank you, Serena. See, I'm so Hispanic. Reina. Everything is like super Spanish. The Serena, thank you. Yeah, not always knowing how my next month is gonna look. Sometimes financially, it's like, but I've gotten over that. Like when I say I trust God, I be like, God, you gonna make a way. He always does. You know what's hard, Isis? Trying to convince other people how amazing we are. That pisses me off. Like, I'm tired of having to sell the dopeness of Embrace Her Legacy. And I'm becoming a lot more, I don't want to say unapologetic, but I'm more like, put some respect on my name. Like, that's how I'm starting to be in 2022. I'm like, this work matters, right? And oftentimes when you're pitching, and I do, because we're a nonprofit, I have to do fundraising. And I do a lot of grant proposal writing, a lot of telling people why we're there, so we're so amazing, why they should support. And that's not always a favorite part of mine because I feel like I'm trying to sell people on something that I already know is dope. Like it's like don't it's like trying to sell yourself to somebody that's you trying to fill you date. Like it's like, do you know what I'm bringing to the table? I'm bringing a table, the kitchen. I'm bringing the whole house to the table. So that's why you should rock with us. So sometimes I have to like peel that energy back. But yeah, now I'm becoming more unapologetic about it. I'm like, if you don't like us and if you can't see the amazing greatness and embrace the legacy, then it's not for you. I'm becoming more like unapologetic about just how dope we are as Embrace Her Legacy. Like we do some amazing things. We are literally transforming lives one girl at a time. And this is like they matter, and just because we're not this organization over here doesn't mean that these girls over here don't matter, right? So that's my least favorite part sometimes of convincing people how amazing we are. The most favorite about being a business owner is like flexibility. I don't answer to nobody but the Lord. I answer to the Lord. I do answer to him. He's my boss. God is, I tell people I have a boss. He is a Jewish carpenter, right? And his name is Jesus. So I do have a boss in that sense, but necessarily, I love my flexibility, being my own boss. Um, Team building, like I said, y'all are dope. My team is amazing. Growing our board of directors, I'm proud to say that 5 out of 7 of our board of directors wait, 5 out of 7, no, 6 out of 7 are all women. 6 out of 7 are all people or women of color. So it's just like our board is an exact representation of who we serve. I like seeing that. It's like, come on, I don't profess diversity. We practice it, right? You understand? Yeah, so that's the most rewarding part of it.
I love that.
Thank you.
Question, you kind of dabbled into this as well. So, did you think that this was going to be the life path that you were going to take? And did it take time for you to decide, like, I'm going to be my own boss?
No, as I said, I would always do. I was always gonna be my own boss. I just didn't think it was gonna happen this fast. Like I've been working for myself since I was 27 years old. I'm about to be the beautiful 37, so it's been a decade. I thought that I would start now. Like I didn't have any intention on becoming my own boss until I was in my 30s. I didn't really think it was gonna happen as soon as it did, but it did, and I'm grateful because it's kind of like I got the kinks out the way early, so it's like now I'm like sure-footed in what I do, so I'm excited.
Right. And I feel like that's really important too, just because a lot of young girls think like I can't do it, like I have to wait till I gain more knowledge and all these other things when in reality you can start whenever you want to
Yeah,
and grow and
start,
learn. Things change every single day.
start.
So
Amen.
if you have
Start,
that, know your audience and you know what you're trying to do and what you're trying to change, by all means, start. Celebrate those
start,
small happen.
start,
Mm-hmm.
start. And I tell people you're gonna make mistakes. Yes, you're gonna fail. Let me help you with that because people were like, I'm scared of failure. I'm like, let me help you. It's gonna happen. So now what do you do? Like because you're not everything is not going to be a home run. Like think of a basketball team. No basketball team wins every game all the time. They take losses. You don't stop the season because you had two bad games. You get back out there. You understand? You dust yourself off. You look at the videotape of yourself playing the basketball team. You like, all right, where did I mess up? What could I have done better? Oh, I could have been, better. We could have been better on defense over here. We could have been better on offense over here. Okay. Then you go back and you do it again, right? And I want people to understand there's power in entrepreneurship. You just gotta do it right. Don't just be doing entrepreneurship out here because you see it on Instagram and like be focused. Have a plan. Know who you're talking to. Have a marketing strategy. Like I said, if anybody say they could go watch the replay, 'cause I already talked about that. But that's important. And then put one foot in front of the other. I don't know. The things I know now, I didn't know 3 years ago. The things I knew 3 years ago, I didn't know 5 years before that. Like take your time. Just put one step in front of the other. And you're gonna get it. I promise you, you will.
Right. This is my last question coming up. We are wrapping things up. So, you are ready to start a business, you want to dabble into things, but how do you think of business ideas?
Sit down and think. I know it sounds crazy, but I have think tank sessions with myself. So there are times where I literally sit with myself and I have a notebook in front of me and I allow myself to be creative. And in those think tank sessions, I don't limit myself. It's like I let my mind do whatever it wants to do. And then when it's time to revisit those ideas, I'll revisit those ideas. So sit down with yourself and think. Think what ideas you got. All right, what do I want to do? Blah, 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 blah. Like think of the goal and think about strategies to get there. Who do I know that can help me get there? What do I have access to that can help me get there? And let your creative juices flow. And what I do is I have those think tank sessions with myself. I put it down. And then I come back to it after a day or two. I walk away, I come back. I'm all right, let me look at it with fresh eyes. What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? Then you say, all right, boom. All right, this is where I want to be. What can I do within the next week? Where do I want to be within the next 90 days? Where do I want to be in the next 6 months? Where do I want to be in the next year, according to that? So, yeah.
Somebody asked in the comments, what do you love to do?
What do I love to do? It depends on the moment. But honestly, like, as far as entrepreneurship and this goes, like, I really do love speaking and teaching and building young leaders. I tell people I am the most comfortable as I can be on a stage. If you tell me, Maria, you have to give your next keynote is going to be in front of 50,000 people at Madison Square Garden, I'm not going to get scared. Most people would go crazy because public speaking is a major fear that people have. I don't. I feel closest to God when I am doing this work. I cannot explain it. It's like when I hit the stage and there's like lights, camera, action. I come into myself. It's like I'm doing what I know I was put on this planet to do. So when I'm speaking on a stage in front of young women, whomever, women, girls, men, anyone, black, white, whatever, I I I feel alive. That's what I love to do when I'm speaking virtually, when I'm working with a team, building young leaders and doing something like a Gallup Strength Finder and doing things that you're like, why is she making us do it? Yeah, that's what it is. I love to do.
Somebody else also said that doing what you love to do is also a great business idea.
It
Like
is.
if you're not about your business, then why are you doing it?
Why you doing it? Cause on them ramen noodle days, the love for it is gonna keep you going.
Right. That was all my questions. Does anybody want to comment anything before we get off?
Yeah, I know we got like 2 minutes before
Oh,
Ivy kicks us off, right? That's so
really great.
funny.
I like this. Was
And
nice.
when it is someone has a question, they can watch the replay and comment on the replay, and we'll definitely get back to you. But thank you, Isis. This was fun. I feel like there needs to be a part two to this because there's so much about entrepreneurship I can teach. But if that's something that y'all want me to do, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll do something a little bit more structured, like a free course or something on entrepreneurship, because there's a lot out there that we don't know that I would love to empower and educate the people about.
Right. Or if you have any suggestions for our next live, feel free to DM us too.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, we appreciate it. Share it. If you enjoy it, share it with your people. Share the live. Share it. Share the replay. All right.
Thank you guys so much for an amazing live. I think that's pretty much it. And
Yeah, I don't know. We might do part two next month. So long.
like, okay, Maria, thank you for this amazing conversation, and we will see you next month, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.